one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
You got to give them that hot spit on the thing. Welcome in, everybody, to the Creed of Crypto live stream. My name is Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, my friend and co-host, Crypto Ewok. Welcome in to the show. We got a big one here for you tonight. Sell and leave? Can you make it through the bull market? Well, that sounds like an easy question in a vacuum. Like, hey, of course, it's a bull market. I'm here for them gains. Of course I can make it through. Well, not so easy, it turns out, because the price just doesn't linearly constantly go up, as we are seeing really across crypto right now. So we're going to talk about a mindset to make it through the rest of this, because, hey, we could have 18 months left. I think, like, on the longer end of things, that's where we could be. Plenty of possibilities out there. But, I mean, we do have time left. And some people that have not been around in previous cycles may not realize that really tight window where things could really blow up, where everything, all the actions that you're taking right now that you have been taking over the last couple of years may pay off immensely for all of us. So we're really looking forward to that. So we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to get into a certain little lawsuit that we know about in South Carolina that's pretty entertaining. We have a couple things to say about that. We're going to talk some Mt. Gox stuff tonight. Some big things shifting in the crypto landscape. Is ETH going to start running on Bitcoin here? A lot of stuff going on. So hit us up in the chat. Like it if you are here. We appreciate you guys being here. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel to support Real DeFi and our channel. We appreciate it. And we did put a poll question in the stream tonight that I forget how it's worded, so I'm pulling it up right now. And what is your... So we may have a little bit of a conversation later on about, like, a method to take profits later in the bull market, and why having a plan right now is of the utmost importance. I mean, hopefully you kind of already have had a plan, but what is your top of the bull market plan? Is it to sell at a specific portfolio goal? Like, I will not sell until I've got a 30x overall or X amount of money or whatever it is. Sell when the market seems euphoric. So just kind of looking for market clues as to when to get out, regardless of where your portfolio is at. Or are you just going to constantly hold through and plan for future cycles? We've talked about Frank Molina, has created many questions by people on here before, saying, like, hey, I'm a PulseX holder for the long term. I'm not sitting here trying to, like, take a bunch off the top or anything like that. I'm holding for multiple cycles. So we'd love to hear what you guys think. Right now, we've got 50% saying that sell when the market seems euphoric, and then a straight split over the other two options. So that's going to be interesting to kind of get the mindset from people tonight. Put your detailed thoughts about that below in the comments. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And, we could probably relate to some things. So all that said, Ewok, how are you tonight? How are you feeling about the markets and everything crypto right now?
Another week of laying low, just laying low in the background and trying to gather some more dry powder. Everything's on sale, man. And I think if you're not taking advantage of these prices, you are doing yourself a huge injustice. Now's the time. And you just said it yourself. The things that we do now are going to be amplified so much toward that part of the cycle once we actually get there. And keep in mind, that stuff happens within a matter of, 6 weeks usually. That whole blow off top. You can go into December of 2025 and nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. So, we are going to creep up. Obviously, things will gradually creep up, but that euphoria period, it just doesn't last long. It's kind of weird that you wait these 3.5 years to get where you want to be, and it all happens within a very short period of time. It makes you makes you forget about all this bad stuff right now, and it's just like everything's moonshot. It's a fun, euphoric feeling that you can kind of get sucked into. So yeah, I'm glad we'll be talking about that later.
It is weird, like almost to like equate it to sports betting or something. It's almost like if you were betting these 16 leg parlays every day, which is a huge negative EV move to anybody watching. I would not recommend that. But if you were doing that constantly for days and days and days upon end, and then all of a sudden you hit on one that got you an insanely great ROI overall or something like that, it is crazy. You're right. I mean, to be sitting here where 90% of the time, seemingly, it's not fun being in this market,
Right.
most of the time, for an eventual big payoff. So looking at where we are specifically right now, so I didn't even really notice because we're so focused, of course, on our PulseChain ecosystem, but Bitcoin down below 61K now. So it's dangerously close to getting into the 50s again, which is something that we've thought was going to happen for some time. We saw it dip down there a few weeks back. I forget exactly when that was. And hey, we could even see more downside than that. And man, something we're going to talk about here, maybe even likely will in July for Bitcoin anyway, because we are getting news that the Mt. Gox coins are finally going to be deployed, which literally we talked about 2 years ago on this show, and it did not happen yet. But it seems like this time is for real, and it's a lot of Bitcoin. I think I'm sure you remember off the top of your head, like 140K Bitcoin or something, not 140,000 Bitcoin,
right?
Heading out to people. Many people obviously are going to figure to take profits. If you don't know what Mt. Gox was, it was the Magic the Gathering exchange. I don't know how Magic the Gathering was totally involved with it back then, but it was basically the only place you could buy Bitcoin back in the day. And I'm talking, 12 years ago or whatever at this point, over a decade ago. So
yeah, it was at least 12 years ago. It was a Japanese exchange. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how it had anything to do with magic either, but
no,
yeah,
it was called that.
Yeah.
But yeah, tons of money basically that you figure these people are going to be wanting to take profit. So we see Bitcoin down here. We could see Bitcoin go down even further. ETH, holding the ratio that it gained on Bitcoin a little bit after the announcement of the ETF, which apparently the first one will go live here on July the 2nd. We have ETH just below 3,400 right now. So yeah, what do you make of it, Ewok? Let me get your total thoughts on where Bitcoin's at right now. The potential for much more downside for it specifically in July due to the Mt. Gox stuff. But everybody's going to assign the Mt. Gox thing to it, kind of like I just said. But we think that this ETH ratio is going to highly increase, as it always had in past cycles. That may be the narrative that, Bitcoin maxis and, if the Mt. Gox thing didn't happen, then ETH would be dead, or, something like that. But what do you make of all of this? Where Bitcoin goes over the next couple of months, how ETH can close the gap, the ETH ETF launching, all this stuff.
So there's a lot of rumors floating around regarding the Bitcoin returning of coins. I've heard that people are getting as little as $484 per Bitcoin that they had in the system at that point. They're not actually getting their Bitcoin back, which surprises me. Well, it doesn't surprise me because lawyers are all crooked for the most part. That's why they've delayed this whole thing for as long as they have, because they're continuing to get paid the whole time, right? So I heard that statistic the other day that, they said that $484, which was the value at that point when it got hacked. So if you had one Bitcoin, you're getting $484 back, which is a big slap in the face.
I think it's more than that, but yeah.
It's just a big, so I don't know how they're getting away with that. I'm not sure if that is completely accurate or not. If it is, then it's going to affect things very little, right? What are people going to do with $485? I mean, really? So if that's the case, it's not really gonna affect much at all. If it's not the case, and which I can't think that, I have a feeling they would get a percentage of what they had in Bitcoin, because you're right, they did have like 140,000 of them sitting there. You would think people would get some of them back. If that happens, then I do see a lot of people exiting with profits very large. And you may end up getting at that point like a $45,000 Bitcoin. I think it could really go that low. Now, another thing, will they spread it out? Will they say, all right, A through D last names go now, and then another week we'll go here, and just break it up a little bit? I don't know how they'll do it. I didn't have Bitcoin back then, obviously, so I haven't been getting any of the letters or anything like that. So I'm just really not sure, but sounds pretty shady the way it's all going down. On the other hand, I think Richard made a tweet the other day that the government is liquidating a bunch of stuff that they have. They're holding, I forget, I think they hold 200 and some thousand Bitcoin from confiscations and things like that, where they liquidate theirs all the time. So yeah, the main thing right now though is the closing of the ratio for Ethereum. You've got that kind of bearish sentiment going on the Bitcoin side, but then you've got the bullish ETF almost approved. What we got, 6, 7, 8, 9 days maybe
already approved, but actually launching. Yeah,
right.
Yep.
9 days till launch, and I made the prediction. I thought it could run up to 4,000 by the beginning of July. So in anticipation of that, so I'm still expecting a run up, but we're just kind of holding here and not doing a whole lot. I thought it would go a little bit sooner. I thought it would start. Friday's a possibility. It's Friday's payday for a lot of people. I think there could be people aping in starting on the weekend and again running up until I'll stand by the statement, but I think it's going to run up and take off just like we saw Bitcoin do when its ETF got approved and launched, and it made that massive run. It only takes a few green candles in a row where people were like, all right, it's time, and people follow suit. That's kind of how these markets work. So yeah, it's going to get exciting. I hope they can reduce the ratio and pull it close at least, and then we can be on our way. But you mentioned it earlier, we could probably have another year until the bull actually is in full effect, where everything, that's the time of the cycle where you can throw a dartboard and anything that you hit pretty much will go up. So we're looking at 8 to 12 months probably before that happens. And then the PulseChain ecosystem could be delayed even further after that. So yeah, we've got some time. Gather some dry powder and start playing the markets if you haven't already. I assume most of the people that are watching have. But again, these are the times where things are ridiculously on sale. So take advantage of it.
Yes. And yeah, you can feel the tide changing. I mean, like, you can definitely feel the tide changing, I think, with ETH, altcoins versus Bitcoin. I mean, like, not only these two big pieces of news, obviously, but just you're seeing it subtly, I think, in some price action and different stuff. People are kind of gaining some confidence, I think, in alts. I mean, if ETH does start to run up now, or right into the supposed launch of this ETF, which I think that July 2nd date is still just a prediction that I saw. I don't think that's 100% official. I don't know why that wouldn't be known already by now, but I guess that in theory they can just kind of launch it whenever they want after they go over all the paperwork and stuff like that. Right. But yeah, you can feel the tide changing, and it's going to happen. I mean, ETH has just looked like shit against Bitcoin now for so long. And every time you see like the Benjamin Cohens and different people like that are Bitcoin maxis on Twitter, just calling for the end of ETH and altcoins are going to continue to bleed. I mean, like, it goes back to that thing that I say in the intro that we always make fun of. Like, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is one thing, but I mean, like, not everybody's coming into this market just to like, oh yeah, I'll try. I want to have a Bitcoin. Wait a minute, it's $70,000 or $60,000. I'm not going to put that kind of money in. And they're not necessarily all looking for like Bored Ape Yacht Club, Pepe lottery tickets. They're looking for, hey, I heard you can make a lot of money in this game, and I want to see how. And Bitcoin, I mean, if you bought Bitcoin right now, if you're expecting anything more than a 3x at the end of this cycle, I think that you're delusional. I mean, I just, well, maybe that'd be 180 some K. I mean,
from here.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, Richard's talked about 240K before, so that's like a 4x. Yeah. But if you're expecting, 5, 10x's, I mean, no, that's just not going to happen. I mean, even I'd even Ethereum, I don't even know. I don't think it's going to 10x this cycle. So I mean, people people that are really looking to come into this industry for a riskier play to really change their life, Bitcoin's just not going to do it, you know?
Well, no, and Ethereum's not either. I mean, 10x
Right.
for Ethereum is $33,000 Ethereum. Could you imagine what the gas prices would be? Like,
I can imagine where our pulse bags would be.
I can too. I can too. I
Yeah.
mean, I know there's a lot of people that would be pretty damn stoked about that because of the value that certain wallets hold. But yeah, it's I don't see a 10x. Maybe from the bottom, a 10x from Bitcoin. You know, if you're taking that 15,000 and it does get to 150, that's a possibility. But you had to buy the bottom for that. As it stands right now, yeah, I don't think you're getting a 10x. It's not going to 500,000.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Really interesting tides though turning in the market here soon. I think I feel more bullish right now than I have for a while. Like, and that might be surprising maybe to some because PulseChain prices are, you know, continuing to double bottom and basically at the lowest that they've been. But just sentiment wise, I'm just starting to feel things turning around here a little bit. So, with that said, if you want to pull up the Pulse prices, we can go ahead and launch into those real quick. And right now, we had a little dip as we started the show, which used to only happen when we did this on Tuesday nights. Now, apparently, it's starting on Wednesday nights as well. But we got Pulse at 4 zeros and a 4423. Pulse X is at 4 zeros, 2115. Incentive token still holding up okay right around this number, $2.35. The hexes have been taking a beating, which actually I didn't really have this in our topics, but I think we should approach this as we talk about prices here. But hex, the real one on PulseChain, is at about a little over half a penny, basically meeting new all-time lows for it. And eHex at
0015.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, yeah, I was trying to think of a clever way to say that, but yeah. So they've been taking a beating. If you want to just take a look at Pulse real quick, we'll just kind of look at the ecosystem first. The thing I was going to mention about Hex is, as I just mentioned, Hex is at an all-time low for it this cycle as it has a new chart and lives on PulseChain. And its ratio to Pulse is at a very advantageous spot here. And I think there's probably a lot of people, I'll raise my hand as one of them, that when I have been DCAing for the better part of a year right now, I've been focusing, well, keep in mind, a lot of people already have Hex bags and we're working on accumulating their Pulse and Pulse X bags. But that was me. I mean, I was mainly focusing on Pulse and Pulse X. But for the first time in a while now, I have a couple eHex flyers I've been taking in there, but I'm interested in acquiring Hex now again because of just kind of where it is performance-wise, how far it's come down against Pulse. So I'd love definitely your opinion on that too, Ewok. But let's first kind of look at the Pulse chart, then we'll get into that. As you can see, I mean, it doesn't matter if we're not at the previous low for Pulse. This is our double bottoming region. I mean, we're not far off. We're as close as we've been. Monday, I think, is when price action was the worst. We've come up a bit since then. But yeah, we're basically right there. So to me, I mean, I'm scooping up everything I possibly can. I know UI and another one of our friends were on a chat the other day, and I said, like, when I have money come in, every cent goes into this market immediately. Like, this is not a time to be sitting in cash stables of any sort for us anyway. So yeah, what do you make of where the chart's at? Doesn't look pretty right now on the weekly, but we got some time. So what do you think?
Nope, not pretty at all. Although, you know, it's always nice to see some green candles when you're here, and we have one right now on the weekly. What were you gonna say?
No, I just said a couple green candles. Yeah,
a couple mixed in here. You know, you see all the red ones, and then you get 3 random green candles. I know there's a lot of people that are just waiting, right? They're waiting to see a reversal signal. That means they're okay missing the actual bottom. They're looking for confirmation. So, you know, a turn up of some sort, you know, you're basically looking for 2 or 3 green weekly candles is what they're looking for. You know, if we go to the daily, there's just no pattern, right? I mean, it's like consolidate up, down, consolidate down, consolidate down. And you're just seeing this pattern play out over and over. So there really hasn't been any kind of reversal signal. You know, it's just continuous. It pulls a little bit and pulls right back. Now we are No, I mean, yeah, we're making lower lows too. So,
Mhm.
you know, until the next higher low comes in, some sort of reversal signal, I think there's a lot of people still standing on the sidelines, which, you know, isn't a bad thing. You know, you don't want to buy in at this point, waiting so long, and then it continues to dip. So, you know, it's not necessarily over yet. However, we are pretty close. You know, but it could technically pull down from here probably another 20, 25% to get
Basically revisiting the low. Yeah.
to revisit the actual lows that we have. So I don't think it'll go much past that, but there's nothing saying that it won't. I mean, there's still a lot of big holders out there that have some ammo if they want to dump, and they're just tired of waiting. You know, and that's the thing. It's we're playing a game. We're playing the patience game right now, and we'll see how many people can withstand it, who are long-term thinkers other than just lottery ticket mentality people. I don't know if you saw it or not, and this is, I know I probably shouldn't even say it, but last night on Maddie's stream, Toby said that he even took a loan out because these prices are just so juicy to buy more. He ran out of dry powder as well.
Yeah.
So not the thing to do, man. It's risky to have a loan on a very highly speculative asset like this. But you know, these are the times where you can really have it turn around later. So yeah, I mean, again, I don't recommend anybody do that, but doing what you do, anytime you have a little bit of extra powder, you know, even if it's 20, $50 at these prices, you're going to get a lot of tokens, right? So, you know, and appreciate the dollar cost average. I saw, who was it here? Cody said that, you know, he's out of dry powder and everything he's deployed is underwater. That's when you buy more. That's when you buy more to get that
Which is out of
average.
dry powder, though.
Well, I know, but so get a second job, drive Uber, do something. I mean, there's plenty of ways to be out there and earn a little bit more to just try and dollar cost and get your average cost down. Because then once it does start to go up, it's a lot less time for you to get back to where you were originally, right? So,
well, you know, and also just to give him another tip too, because we've talked about this in the past, is like, think of everything you can possibly do. Like if you hold, you know, even a decent amount of Pulse and PulseX, look into at least just the you can do whatever you want. We both would recommend and do actually participate in the PulseX yield farm on PulseX, which gives you, you know, traditionally anywhere from 14 to over 20% yield in ink token and that's not nothing. I mean, that is pretty substantial. You know, if you can do that over the course of holding these tokens, as well as like just holding too. It may not feel as good as being able to buy right now, but just holding. Keep in mind, I mean, you're doing what most people in this world are not able to do.
yep.
You know, and I know, trust me, I know the feeling. I honestly, like, the holding and feeling like you can do nothing is the hardest thing for me, and I think it probably is for most people because we're active people. We're active people in this market, and we're investors. So you want to always do something and take some kind of action, you know. But yeah, I would be LPing if you're interested in doing that, but make sure you totally understand it first. And again, I'm only talking about the PulseX farm on PulseX, but yeah, just another tip. But
yeah.
Well, I was going to say something about the Pulse price. Can I ask you a question about something you were saying here?
Sure.
So you were saying like you could see it go down and revisit the bottom. I'm curious how that would, you know, because one side of your mouth a few minutes ago, you're saying, hey, I could see ETH to 4,000 pretty soon. We have the ETH ETF on the horizon. Now, in no way, every time I say ETH doing well will help PulseChain, I don't mean it as in like, oh, there is a wallet out there that holds 170,000 Ethereum that seems like it likes to buy PulseChain. I don't mean just because of that. I also just mean generally ETH going up is good for all altcoins. I mean, like that is basically like the altcoin index. So I'm just curious. I mean, like, if you can marry those two things, I mean, I guess in the short term, anything's possible like that. But if we would see ETH just start to charge on an ETH ETF approval or launch, I don't know that I'd see Pulse bleeding much more past that. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I don't know. Well, boy, you'd think the alts would start to move. I don't know.
For those who are wallet watching, that think that as soon as we get $4,000, $5,000 Ethereum, that something's going to happen. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think anything will happen until, that wallet has been known to make the Bitcoin top the last couple cycles. They've called it the top on the day. Usually the Ethereum top is followed roughly 28 days immediately after that. So I think there are some plays at hand that won't happen until then, if they happen at all. We shouldn't obviously expect them to, but I don't think any cash will be deployed. But to your point, the markets will be stronger. Like the strength of the market, the overall sentiment, a rising tide lifts all boats, so to speak, will kind of happen. Things start to get a little euphoric. People get in better moods. Green candles cause people to buy. Those type of things actually happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't see that type of thing happening with PulseChain. I think there's probably other DAI and things like that sitting on the sidelines that would probably get deployed by a lot of bigger whales. There are people out there waiting for signals. And it's not just the one that everybody talks about. There are some large players. Obviously, we know Godwill's out there. We know there's a couple others. We know there are several that probably sold early, realizing that the markets would dump because they couldn't hold through a lot of this stuff. Not everybody was bullish from the beginning. So there's people that are sitting on some major amounts of dry powder out there. Once these signals start to happen, then they start deploying their capital. So, there are plenty of seasoned investors out there just waiting for people to shake it out, to get the weak hands out. Why would they want to pump the price if somebody's just going to continuously dump it? So, they know what they're doing. It's just a matter of playing that waiting game. And like you said, as much as it sucks to sit there sitting on your hands and doing nothing, if you don't have dry powder, that's the best thing to do. Because if you're trying to jump in and out and do ratios and try and make plays, you're going to end up worse off than what you were if you would have just done nothing. So 9 times out of 10, that's how it works. Occasionally you'll get lucky with one and think you're a god trader, and then you end up losing it all on the next one. So, again, sometimes sitting there doing nothing is just sometimes the best thing to do if you don't have more to dollar cost average into. But again, there's ways to do it. There's lots of ways. Sell plasma, drive Uber, get a second job. There are things that you can do to take advantage of right now. Like, this is the time to be making moves if you haven't already.
Plus, not only that, but like talking about other strategies. I mean, if you do have some time on your hand, I mean, because I had notes in here about the psychological talk of getting through the bull market, which we're pretty much talking about right now, but also creating content like YouTube. I understand this is a big undertaking. I don't expect everybody to go out there and start a YouTube channel. There are many people that should not have a YouTube channel that do have a YouTube channel. There's very many people that have a podcast that definitely shouldn't have a podcast. I'm aware of that. But like Twitter content, like if you are somebody with a desk job that, you get paid for working 8 hours a day, but you actually work like 3. You can easily create content on Twitter and get paid for it, about this stuff if you want to. Like, at least, because not only will you then potentially be able to earn some other income, but you're educating yourself more about these systems. You're engaging with more people. You're helping the ecosystem that you're involved in. Like, it's not like we make lots of money from YouTube. I mean, very little of these people out here doing what we do now, maybe some with a lot more subs, but even Crypto Coffee, like, who has like 35K subs. I mean, like, I don't know what he makes from YouTube, but like, I'm sure it's nowhere near, any crypto gains that he's made, and it's more just boosting the signal and trying to do that. So I would encourage you to do that. I mean, like, I'm not going to call you lazy if you don't do it, but I mean, it certainly would help you feel better about your investment and, help you onboard more people, even if you're not holding their hand doing it in real life.
I like this, Fast Abdul. What if there was a wrapped Ethereum Pulse yield farm that paid over 100% APR? Great idea. The Hart's Law, right? It would tie things together really well. However, a lot of the volume is already tied. I mean, there's a lot of value, Ethereum value bridged over from the bridge. So, a lot of the value here is from Ethereum. So when Ethereum goes up, I can see it translating over to us a little bit, not directly, as there are no real trading pairs. But I do really like that idea of that trading pair in the farms. So yeah, that'd be pretty awesome.
Right. That would be very cool. Actually, real quick, if you want to, looks like Mark Henretta is having a rough time. But if you want to, yeah, I wish I had $1 for every time over the last 3.5 years. It's a screaming buy. Well, yeah, I mean, like some people were wrong along the way based on certain time frames, but it's all about what's your actual time frame. I mean, if people were saying that it was a screaming buy at 50 cents, yeah, that was within the last 3.5 years. So,
well, when Hex hit a penny, I thought that was the bottom. I was wrong. Like I thought that was the absolute bottom. So we've all made wrong calls and thought that it couldn't go much lower. And there are a lot of times where that happens. Every time when you think it can't go lower, it will. So we all need
keep in mind too.
Stop thinking that way.
Keep in mind too, like you were talking when Hex hit a penny, you didn't think it would go lower. Like the whole ecosystem, if there weren't this like kind of dilution into the 4 or 5 tokens or whatever you want to say, like Hex would still be over 2 cents right now if we were all combined together. So I mean, like eHex going down as low as it is partially because of that. So I don't know if Mark's comment is a salty one or just where he's at, but I would say if your attitude feels like that, you're probably not going to do well, and trust me, I've had an attitude. I've had days like that, and maybe you're just having one of those days and you're typing that comment. But I mean, generally overall, if you can cultivate, a longer time frame and try to not look at the charts every day, you'll have a better time, with any investment.
Well, another way to look at that too is, Mark, if you've done it, you've dollar cost averaged into a lot of positions probably that lowered your average buy-in. So it's not necessarily a bad thing if everyone says it's a screaming buy and you do buy in and it goes lower and you do it again. You're only lowering your average cost, entry cost. So it's not always a bad thing when you hear people say that, but and it's very rare for anybody to catch the actual bottom and say, it's it, guys, this is the bottom. People will say that all the time, hoping that they're right, and very rarely are they. So
yeah, and kind of an opposite thing here from Philly. So I've been holding this long. We have to remain strong and hold, no choice really. But even throwing in 50 to 100 here and there will be large over time, definitely.
Absolutely.
And the no choice really thing. I mean, yeah, if you've made a decision in your head, like I think we both did a long time ago. Like I'm investing in the stuff I really believe in, and I will go down. Swing. If I die, I die. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like it's either like I'm shooting for the stars or nothing, because like this to me, and I'll go on a soapbox here, but this to me comes back to the whole thing of like, are you going to live in the legacy financial system where they continue to devalue the dollar, continue to tell you how little your opinion matters, let this country, I'm talking about America anyway, just like shit on you and control you and do whatever they want to do, debase the currency, install politicians that you didn't vote for and stuff like that? Are you going to do that, or are you going to shoot for the stars? You're going to choose a safe life, which ends up actually being like incredibly dangerous for you, or are you going to take this route? Because, being like 100% in crypto and having no cash, I mean, that's not something I'm afraid of at this point. So, yeah.
Well, and look at it like a 401k. Look how long you have to hold those. People get upset where we have to hold 3.5 years, and
right.
You got to hold your shit for 40 years if you want any kind of semblance of a retirement. So, we're just accelerating that rate. Yes, it's a lot more volatile. Yes, you're going to have times like this where it continues to go down when we don't expect it. But believe me, when things turn around, the feeling of it is something that you've never experienced, especially when you buy things at these prices. A lot of people, entry price was maybe 15, 20 cents. And yes, they're still holding, but they haven't bought any more the whole way down here. They're just going to wait until it gets back to that price. But imagine if they're buying a little bit here and there now, that little bit here will outperform what they bought at 15, 20 cents time over and over and over again. So it's pretty fun. Plus the feeling is really good, right? It helps you get by that. Yeah, I screwed up, but I made up for it. I learned my lesson. I dollar cost average in, got my price down, and look at what I have now. So yeah. The feeling is just undescribable.
I think this is a great time. If I know I sent it to you, if you could bring up that RH tweet from 2 days ago, where it starts with the reason I've been a winner my whole life. And this isn't just an RH, brag thing. This is all, I think this is really good that people should read, especially on this topic here tonight, because the theme of the show is going to be how to maintain a positive perspective, like through the bull market when things are down right now. And this is a great kind of cap on our conversation here. He said, the reason I've been a winner my whole life is because while everyone else is broken and crying, demoralized, whining, begging, acting butthurt in public, having lost all self-respect, which we see on Twitter in droves every single day, I just keep doing the best I can. It usually works out. Don't be a loser, be persistent. And we can read the Calvin Coolidge quote too. But to have that knowledge, and I DM'd you when he tweeted this the other day, Ewok, and everybody loved this tweet because I think it resonates with all of us. That's such a beautiful sentiment. Like, you don't have to be the best. You don't even have to necessarily create anything revolutionary. You don't have to do something absolutely insane that nobody ever thought of before, that's totally, out of your reach, that you could only, dream of doing. It is just being persistent and being here, because most people aren't built for it. Like, whatever it is in life, like getting through a crypto cycle or two, getting the job that you're after, whatever, a goal that if you deem something worthwhile, and, not to get into like, corporate lingo and stuff, but if you have a why or something like that, which I know every company uses now, but if there's something that important to you, which I know you and I both have that, Ewok, and presumably many others in this community, it's easy. Like, I mean, like I just kind of extrapolated a minute ago, like I'm not going to live the settling life. I did that already. I think many of us have done that, where we experience like the dangers of just settling with many things in life in this country, and you're not gonna have a good time if you do that. So it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna swing for the fences, and whether it works out or not, I don't care, and I'm not going away. So
right,
but on to the Coolidge part. He says, nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, press on, has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. That's awesome. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's an amazing quote. There's another one floating around out there that you sent me as well. I believe Sami was posting it. It was the man in the arena. Was that
I don't know why I'm forgetting who it is right now. I'm gonna kick myself when I see it, but I
forget who it was too. Cool.
It's the same. It's the same. It's the same. Teddy Roosevelt. Yeah, Teddy
Roosevelt. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so it's funny. There's a saying out there that says something about if especially when you don't have any goals, if you don't aim for anything, you'll hit it with great accuracy every time, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you don't set any goals, you're not going to do anything. So setting the goals higher than what you should, if you only get halfway there, it's pretty darn rewarding. So there's a lot of things like that, just being, but persistency is key, right? People give up too early, way too often. And that's why only 3% of the world are more successful and actually have their own companies and things like, you know what I mean? They say maybe 3% are successful business owners, but it's because they don't give up. They don't stop. They make mistakes. They learn from them. They continue to make mistakes, and that's all part of it. So yeah, just got to keep at it. It's when you give up is when you screw yourself. So
yeah, I totally agree. Both perfect sentiments, I think, to kind of finish off that topic, which is the meat of what we did want to talk about here tonight. So I really enjoyed that conversation. Anytime we can have kind of like attitude mindset conversations like that, I think that those, are more impactful than any price chart we can be showing, or, sentiment conversation or rumors or this or that. I think that this is the stuff that really does help people, in the long term.
Yeah, we could have your friend life coach on to help us out too sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if anybody out there's in need of a life coach, I may know a couple of people. Now I don't know what credentials it takes to become a life coach. I've yet to. I know there's a certificates involved, but I don't know any actual credits you need for that. But enlighten me if anybody's a life coach out there.
Right.
But if you guys are enjoying this stream so far, do us a favor, pound the like. We appreciate you being here. Somehow we only have like 45 viewers right now. Hey, I get it. I mean, the sentiment's low in the market right now, but of those of you here, we only have 19 likes. So smash the like if you're enjoying the stream. We appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for all the food for thought in the comments. Checking on the poll question real quick because it's the results are interesting. What's your top of the bull market plan? 38% is split. There's two with 38% right now. Sell at a specific portfolio goal or sell when the market seems euphoric. And I got to tell those people that specific portfolio goal thing. I mean, if you don't get there, good luck if you didn't sell, because you may just be the people that are still here right now that bag held from 2021. Okay. So, and then 24% are saying hold through and plan for future cycles, which I find that to be amazing. That people don't want to sell at all. I know you're a little familiar with that, Ewok. But yeah, what do you make of these results? I feel like we do a 3-hour stream tonight. We don't have the time for it, but I love this kind of conversation. But yeah, what do you make of these results right now?
Well, I find it interesting a little bit. I think people are going to get caught with their pants down like they always do, like I always do, because the feeling, again, back to what I said earlier, the feeling is so euphoric that you kind of forget that it will end. It will end. And I think greed plays a portion into that too. When you're down for so long, for 3.5 years, you're down and finally see movement and you will talk yourself out of taking a little bit of profit. Man, what if it just goes up another 5 pennies? I could have X amount more. Greed gets in the way when that euphoria is taking over. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to miss a lot of it, because you do have these pullbacks, right? They do mess with your mind as well. So you're going to see it run up, and then you're going to see a 50% drawback, and you're going to see it run way up again. Don't forget, Hex doubled 13 or 14 times on average every 14 days for the period of that last cycle. So it was crazy what it was doing. And then when it finally stopped, everyone's like, well, this is just one of the normal pullbacks, right? It's just normal. This is what it does. This is what we do. And then it pulled back and it kept pulling back. And you missed out on some of those gains. People are not going to call the top. People, very few, are going to call the bottom. Very similar. So that's why having a plan is so important. When I get to a certain point, I want to take 10% off the top or 20% off the top. And then when I get to another point, I want to take another 20% of what I have left off of the table again, so that you have a plan, you stick to it. Otherwise, if you just wait until things feel euphoric, they're gonna continue to feel euphoric until it's way too late and you've missed, a lot of the gains that you probably could have taken. So for those who are saying, I'm not selling this cycle, I'm holding, there's probably a lot of young people out there that are okay doing that and completely okay. I do see a future in a lot of this stuff. So nothing wrong with that. But wouldn't it be nice, though, to take a little off the top and save it to buy back on the next downturn? Even if it's maybe you don't catch the top and you go, 70% of the way up and it comes way screaming down past that later, and you just have it sitting there and holding, you can buy back in a lot more of your position. So, if you're going to be around long term, still have a plan, right? I mean, that's not saying take it out, buy a house, go buy a Lambo, buy some silly toys, a jet ski and boats and stuff like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But take some profits so that you can hold it in the market, because we know it will come back down again. And if you're holding more dry powder at that time, you can definitely increase your position. So, there are ways to do it where, you don't have to exit for the long term for the young people. But you should have a plan, and that is the most important thing, because again, if you don't, the euphoria takes over, the greed takes over. You end up missing a lot of things that you could have had set up for the following cycle if you're not prepared. So I know it's kind of boring talk and nobody wants to have it, but it is planning for success and for yourself and for the next cycle.
These are the lessons and the things that you need. And sometimes you just need to go through it. Like sometimes you have to have already been a bag holder, or not bought in the bear market and left the market and then came back and then you didn't have the portfolio you thought you would have because you weren't DCAing when it was down. Unfortunately, you have to learn those tough lessons. But I would say, like, for the people that are talking about wanting to hit a specific target and then they'll sell, I would say absolutely don't do that. And I mean, call it whatever. I mean, it's not really financial advice. It's just that why would you set a target that if I don't hit this, I'm not selling? I mean, as long as if in your thesis, if you're okay riding it down, I'd plan for 95%. I mean, who knows if it goes that far? We see that it has, and will again for tokens. So, and then off that 95%, do you even get back to the previous all-time high? I mean, not that we're not saying that we think that will happen with Pulse. I mean, I have a lot better visions in mind, but I would have a plan. If your plan is just, if I don't hit $1 million, then I'm not selling, because that million's going to turn into what,
90 grand.
90 grand eventually. So, I would say to have a plan in place. That's why I would be looking for more. So like what's happening in the market. And then, obviously this doesn't have to be like I click one button and I'm out. Number one, you're dealing with like slippage and all kinds of things that you can hurt yourself. We're talking about like just the way you DC into the market, doing a DCA out. Like you don't have to, that's the way to do things rationally to where you feel comfortable with your decision. I mean, yeah, you're always going to have those moments where we've all of us here have, over the last 3 years, DCA'd into the market only to wake up and it's 20% lower the next day. I mean, that's gonna happen. But if your plan is a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year plan or something or more, it's not gonna matter. Well, it's the same way if you DCA out of the market. It's like, okay, well, I only took 10% of my portfolio out. There could still be another 6 months in this market. I just have to be happy with this decision. And if Pulse skyrockets more after this, at least I still have, money in there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I would set a plan.
This statement is I think people are sleeping on PHEX. Even if it gets back to 50 cents, it'd be amazing. I agree. With a split, especially, 50 cents would be great. And say EHEX gets back to even half of that at 25 cents, you're looking at a 75-cent overall. I think a lot of people would be happy. I think I forget who tweeted it the other day. It might have been Maddie, who said right now we are 100x from the absolute low.
I saw
that. At 0.0000 was 5655 was the very bottom, and we are exactly 100x under the 56-cent top. So we're sitting in a very sweet spot of 100x to the upside from the low, but 100x downside from the top. So it's an interesting level that we're at. And yes, I agree. People will always sleep on Hex because it's boring. But I go back to that trustless yield. You can't stop the contract.
Nothing can stop that contract from running.
Nothing can stop that contract from running. There are ways out there to get yield, but there aren't very many that are trustless, decentralized, and nobody holds your coins. That's a big thing. Nobody's holding your coins because they get burned. They're not even in existence when you stake. So Hex definitely gets overlooked. People don't look at the timing. It's something else that, I'd like to go over sometime. And I know we want to have Axis and Crispy on at some point to talk about the staking and the way that things are going, because Crispy dives into that stuff very, very meticulously and has a lot of statistics. But even for those ones that are staked out longer, planning them around the cycles, right? We kind of know now that cycle after cycle, 4 years, we kind of know how to time it. throw them out there, punt it. You know what I mean? You may really thank yourself in a couple years for doing it.
I'll tell you what, real quick to Cody Pauly's point, can you pull up the Hex chart? Because I wanted to do that after we looked at the other charts and we just kind of got into a different conversation. But I'd like to look at Hex against Pulse right now because, yeah, I mean, I've seen multiple people talking about it recently. We've seen Hex been coming down. I mean, it's getting to a point where its ratio against Pulse is slipping pretty well, and it's been taking a beating here over the course of this most recent downturn. So, like I said, for the first time in a while, there you go, am interested in getting into Hex. So what do you have here? The daily, right?
Yes, daily chart.
Look at that.
This is versus USD, but look when you compare it to Pulse.
Yeah.
It's starting to show some strength.
Yep.
You know, you're starting to see this rounded bottom.
Love rounded bottoms.
Yeah, love the rounded bottoms, the fat bottom girls make the rock and roll go around, man.
Freedom of peach. Yeah.
So yeah, we are definitely showing against Pulse. There is some strength here. It's you know, and there are a bunch of higher lows that are being set. You know, obviously right now, this is pretty critical area, but it is looking pretty good. Good.
And it's consolidating where it already had previously at other points. I think it's looking like
a lot of support. A lot of support right in this area where it did chop around. It was support here. It's turning into right in here. It was support for here, and we're finding it again. So, I mean, there's a lot of touch points here at this level. So yeah, it's looking good. Hex, this is the Pulse Hex. Obviously, we're not talking about eHex right now, but I think it's actually kind of looking bearish or bullish too. If you look at the at that chart, but again, we could go down the
I don't want to go that far
rabbit hole all night.
I don't want to go quite down there, but I totally agree. I think Hex is in a good spot right now, and I'm interested in accumulating it with Pulse and Pulse X pretty much equally on a DCA right now. So, looking good. All right, cool. Well, I think that ends that part of the conversation. So we have to talk about this. I didn't think we'd be almost an hour in and have those topics, but I mean that's what I wanted to talk about the most. So I'm glad we got to. So let's talk about this mini lawsuit that was filed in South Carolina by, I think his name's Noah. And I wouldn't have planned on like saying the kid's name I mean, I guess it's not really doxing someone if there's like a public record of a
it's public record. It's fine.
Yeah. But you know, he's and I'll be honest, I'm not going to criticize him for the cooking hot dogs in a Lowe's parking lot or whatever it was, because I don't know how old he is. I mean, that shows some initiative. I think that's kind of a cool thing to do.
Sure.
However, you know, trying to file a class action lawsuit against the entity of Hex or I guess it's technically against Richard Hart too, for losing $400 isn't probably the most admirable thing to do. But I think the blame here lies 99.9% on this group of attorneys. Who are clearly taking advantage. I don't know how old this kid is, but I think they're pretty clearly taking advantage of him and trying to turn this into a class action lawsuit. I would equate some of the things that we're seeing them do, these attorneys, which, I mean, I'll just say who they are. What's their names again here? I think it's Chapel. I put it in the tweet tonight.
Douchewagons.
I don't know if it's Chappelle. I doubt it's Chappelle. Then I might support him if it was Chappelle. But Chapel, and Newman out of South Carolina. They actually have a Twitter account. If you guys want to check out their Twitter, you know, all I'm saying is just check it out. You know, see what they tweet about, you know, whether you want to engage with them and whatever you would like to say to them. You know, I'm not recommending anything, but they're I'll go ahead and put it in the chat, actually, if anybody would.
I wouldn't even interact with them. I wouldn't give them any kind of advertisement. If people want to find them, but
you might want to see what they're all about, though. I'm just recommending if you guys want to check these guys out. But yeah, if you would go to their Twitter, you would see that they don't tweet often. They have 16 followers. But they tweeted about a year ago here on July 31st, 2023. Our law firm filed a class action on behalf of individuals damaged in this investment scheme nearly 1 year ago. So this has been filed since 2022. It's good to see the federal regulators stepping in to stop this nefarious behavior. So they're supporting, of course, the SEC lawsuit, which we know is fraught with literal complete and utter disinformation. I don't know what word you want to use, but like made up stuff, literally.
Yeah.
As well as this lawsuit. We are seeing stuff come out now. We'll get into some tweets to uncover it, but they purposely mislead the judge in one of their statements, pretending that this kid bought Hex at 42 cents, but it was actually 4.2 cents, and they worded it weirdly and showed it in a way to make it look like it's 42 cents. Among many others.
It was 0.42 cents. So it was 0.0042 was the 0.0042 is where it was at.
Right. Yeah. So there's a little bit of shenanigans with how they worded that. But what I'll say first, and then we can go into that Nuclear Herbs tweet, is we didn't know about this. We first talked about it last week because Matty Allen brought it up on his stream. Opened up a donation address for an amicus brief to be filed. Within 1 day, that money was donated. Don't know who it was. Don't know who, why, how, or when, but it was there. The amicus brief has been filed on behalf of Richard Hart and Hex by an attorney, I believe, in South Carolina. We now find out that Ben Dubard, who we've known for a while, I did not know he was in South Carolina, but evidently he is, and he's now gotten involved with this. And as a result of all of these things, the part of the case that was taking place this past yesterday, has been basically there's been a continuance filed. So I mean, it's going to continue to go out. But this went from a wrought with all sorts of not accurate information lawsuit filed by somebody who was just salty because they lost some money in an investment, like anybody does, because he made incorrect financial decisions. That went from unopposed to, okay, everybody's showing up here. Now they're showing people's tweets in court. This tweet that we're looking at from Nuclear Herbs, I think, was shown in court with him even calling them a douche wagon or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe part of this stream will be there. So hi, everybody. If so, I don't know. But I love the fact that this is being heavily publicized now because we don't even have to do anything. Like, there are people out there that are trying to hurt this kid and stuff socially, which I think is bullshit. That we don't advocate for that. I think that's horrible, and we're not saying anything about that. But I think it's good that we just expose it for what it is, because what it is trash. I don't think there's any lies that we have to make up, unlike these attorneys in this case, because they want to line their pockets and take advantage of a kid. So do you want me to read this tweet, or do you want to read this Herbs tweet, or just
go ahead? The one thing I did want to bring up though is any class action lawsuit, it's all about the lawyers. This kid lost $400, and there were several people out there that said, why don't we just send him the $400? And my reply was pretty simple: is if he gets paid, everybody that lost $400 is going to come out of the woodwork looking for their piece of the pie. So, that's not the way to handle it. I feel bad for the kid. Yeah, he made a bad choice though. But it's like everybody gets a participation trophy. What is this? Like, this is investing. It's not a guaranteed thing. Crypto is a risk, right? Just like any other investment, you're speculating. And just because he lost some money does not justify a class action lawsuit. But no, go ahead and read this. I've got some more thoughts, but we'll get into that.
So this is Herbs kind of following up with an update after the events of Tuesday. So he said, as Matty Allen discussed last week, an attorney has appeared and is seeking to intervene on behalf of the Hex owner. Remember, Noah Vion, that's the kid's name. The plaintiff who sued RH is attempting to have that case certified as class action so his attorneys can try and collect a pile of money in attorney's fees while everyone else takes it in the tailpipe. Noah's attorneys immediately filed an objection, inserting my entire tweet where I called them douche wagons. I thought that was honorable that they didn't censor that part. But then again, you should always consider viable alternatives when looking at any situation, right? So maybe they agree. Who knows? Earning their moniker, they straight up lied to the court in their filing, telling the court that the price of Hex when Ben, intervener, bought in August 2020 was 42 cents, which everyone here knows is complete bullshit. They lied because they wanted the court to think that Ben almost certainly suffered a substantial investment loss. Their words, not mine. Maybe they'll correct the obvious falsehood as they required to under the ethical rules. Maybe they won't. Maybe the court will find out another way they've been lied to. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Now, it does say that it says price of Hex on August 2nd, 2020 was 0.42 cents. Now, it is written like they wrote it in a way where to the eye, nobody would write 0.4 of a cent that way. That looks like 42 cents because it's 0.42.
Right.
Because there's no dollar sign and they wrote the word cents after it is why. Now, will a judge notice that? Will any casual reader notice that? I mean, Nuclear Herbs looking here, didn't really notice it because it's written to mislead you to think that it's 42 cents.
Exactly.
So we know that's what they're doing, So yes, they mean for whatever 0.42 cents.
And when you look at the price down here in this image, it clearly shows 0.0042 on August 2nd of 2020. So
right. But the thing they're not going to be able to do is to prove in any way that Hex is a security or that anything other than this kid's investment. He did what we all have done. Like you just said, Ewok, right at the beginning of this. Like, okay, you give the kid the $400. Okay. Well, we've all sold for losses stupidly.
Yeah.
And the S&P 500 down to whatever Terra Luna in this world. We've all done that, So, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and not to mention, I just totally blanked on what I was going to say. Yeah, I don't even know. No, it's all good. I think it's just a miss. Like they're doing this on purpose. And when I first read it, I was confused by why Ben DeBard was even involved, and I was really confused. And then I kept reading more and more, and apparently, he was one of the people that did show up to this in our defense. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The attorneys in South Carolina, though, like this kind of goes back to what we're dealing with in New York as far as jurisdiction. South Carolina's lawyers or judges cannot determine a security. Like they don't even have this jurisdiction. So I'm not sure how this doesn't even get thrown out of their court. As far as a class action lawsuit, those are more civil. Sometimes I believe.
Well, to answer the thing that you just said, so no, they don't have the ability to label as security. That they don't have that's a federal thing. It's maybe even worse actually. Like we have these unelected people, of course, in the SEC that get to just do whatever they want.
Right.
But luckily, judges are realizing how shitty they are now. But what would have happened had this community not come together so strongly like it does in all these other events? Is there could have been a default ruling put in place just because no one was even representing the other side of this. Again, you can sue anybody. Like you can just go out there and do this crap that these guys in South Carolina are doing all day long, and the lawyers will happily collect the fees, like Chapel, and whoever. But all they could have done,
Chapel, and Douchewagon.
Yeah, all they could have done basically is if they went unopposed, there would have been a default judgment, and the SEC could have used that in their case to say, "Hey, look at this already. RH or whoever didn't even appear here, so this thing is a security because this little court in South Carolina said so." So whether Judge Peggy Kuo, if that's the one that's overseeing the SEC one, would buy that or not, I don't know. That certainly wouldn't be anything automatic like, oh, okay, well, hey, if this small lawsuit in South Carolina did that, then okay. It wouldn't look great, but I don't think it would be like, oh, okay, then yeah, I agree. This stuff's a security. I don't think it would be like that. So that's the small amount of power that this court has, which isn't insignificant. And I'm glad that we have all, this community has stepped up. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Maddie's tweet then too. And before I read this, I do want to say I went back and watched the stream we had last week, and I almost came off as like not really caring. And I didn't.
I remember.
I
didn't. Briz.
Well, it wasn't that I didn't care. I supported Matty, and I gave him a lot of kudos for what he was doing. For me myself, I wasn't going to. Obviously, I'm not a whale, so I wasn't going to donate. But I didn't mean to come off that way, because I am in support of what he does and what he always does. And again, I always give Matty credit where credit's due. He always goes over and above of what's expected, of people, and their he definitely deserves his accolades for this. So if I came off that way, I didn't mean to. I just I was more in the position of, well, I'm not going to be able to do anything about this myself. So but yeah, I felt like I kind of came off the wrong way. But again, I do want to give Matty credit for what he does and putting all this stuff together.
I think Brizzer initially missed this, and maybe you did too. I think Matty laid it out well last week. Is like, if we hadn't had this kind of representation in this small, mostly insignificant case, yeah, there could have been some default judgment put in place. And why give the SEC anything at all, in that other lawsuit? So I think this is terrific. And frankly, like, when you just see like the nature of these attorneys taking on a case like this and then fudging the truth even more, it motivates you even more just to try to smack this stuff down publicly, and I'm sure that their law firm is like looking into all this and seeing some of this stuff, because, it's international. It's not just something in South Carolina. Like, there's a lot of people that really care about this, and a lot of people that care about Hex, PulseChain, and this stuff, and want to see it succeed, than people who realize that you lose money on investments and that's your own fault, and that's just life.
It's all part of it.
So Matty's tweet: great progress, Hex fam. A continuance was granted in the South Carolina Hex case today. This gives more time for Mr. Merritt Abney, that's the attorney, I believe, that we're set up with, and team to make their case amici, I think is how that's pronounced. Mr. Abney now represents local Hex hero Ben Dubard. I don't know if we can call people heroes, and Ben is well deserving of this high praise. As you all know, Hex is a decentralized community that loves delaying gratification and volunteering to do the right thing, even when it's tough. The Hex community really impresses me these days. Folks seem extremely united in defending the best interests of the majority of Hex users like Ben. You and I up against bad precedents. I imagine RH and Satoshi would be very proud of the Hex community. Shows the ability to rise to challenges without a central authority or managerial efforts. It's great. There will be no negative decisions against Hex today based on one-sided arguments. More updates are expected in August. I'm happy to block anyone disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. Overall, the support has been overwhelmingly positive. This is not legal, financial advice, blah, blah, blah. So really just, following up with a continuance. And that was the thing I didn't know, is more updates expected in August. So let's kind of do double barrel there. So if you want to wrap up any other points that you have on this one, other than things are looking really good now, but also the timeline for the SEC one, because Richard also just tweeted recently the timeline of the SEC one. And you mentioned it to me today. I think it's July the 8th that we hear the SEC's, whatever their response is to the motion to dismiss. So any final thoughts you have on the South Carolina one, and then anything on the timeline for the SEC thing?
No. And I just going back to Richard's tweet a couple of days ago, he's excited. I think he's excited for a response for them. You can kind of tell the way he tweeted the other day, saying things are about to get exciting, guys. So no, I'm looking forward to their response. Do I think they're just going to drop it? Probably not. That's not how they operate. But they've been on such a losing streak lately that I don't know. I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice for them to back off, and
I don't think so.
See the team of lawyers that they have to go against, some of them being former SEC people. Maybe they do know something. Maybe Richard's team knows something that, he's kind of alluding to. I doubt it, but that would be nice. My thoughts are, I think it's going to get exciting. I think this is going to play out to our advantage. I would love to see it dropped. I mean, if it's dropped, you can almost guarantee green candles. Like just the exuberance from everything. It would be so euphoric, I think, for a little while. Now it would kick off our bull run, but will it last until the end? Probably not. But I do think it's quite a bullish thing to happen. There would probably be some drawbacks afterwards, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. One step closer, right? We get that decision, and they say, "Well, yes, here's our rebuttal to what you said," and we find out about the jurisdiction. I think at that point they're going to try to defend that mostly. I think they'll try to defend why they think they have jurisdiction. And then I think it still goes to the judge to determine whether they do or not. So I think they'll spend the most time on that. I think that's what their response will mostly be centered around, because I think that is the most important part of this. Because without that, they don't have any of the other stuff at all. So, I'm looking forward to it. I just want to see this thing get moving and get done with. Man, the way they drag stuff out, I want it to be over with as quickly as we can, and get on our merry way.
I think there's a 0% chance that they would just back out and drop it, because they have literally nothing to lose. I mean, they can only gain something from this. So, which could be continued embarrassment, but I mean, that's been happening for them. So, I don't know if you put this up a minute ago, but I wanted to highlight this. I just saw referencing. You did. I just wanted to give it attention because I think this is dead on. Rocket Mob. If the kid, meaning Dane, whatever his last name is, would have reached, is it even Dane? Did I make that up? I don't remember now.
You made that up. Noah,
some 4-letter thing. If the kid would have reached out to the community, Dane, if the kid would have reached out to the community on what he's going through, chances are he would have been helped directly by at least 10x, just by the positive history of what the community does generally. 100% couldn't agree more, whether deserved or not. I mean, there's no way in hell you'd find me barking on Twitter about I lost some money, could somebody help me out? But hey, we see all the time, whether sometimes I don't buy them, but some of these accounts, they're like, my whole wallet just got drained. I can't believe it. I lost everything. There's always people there to support. Now, I don't know. Not one person is going to say, oh, here's your $400 back, but people might throw you, hey, here's a little bit of Pulse for gas. Here's this, or whether it's even just emotional support, for $400, which is take a shit and get $400. Yeah.
Right.
He would have in some way gotten what he asked for. This isn't about the $400. I mean, there's clearly something else going on here. But very well said, Rock and Bob. I totally agree.
Yeah, I put that up earlier, and I felt the same way. But then again, there are so many scammers that come in and say, "Please, sir, help me. I've lost everything." And whether he would have or not, he obviously wasn't part of the online community, which that's going to happen too. There's a lot of people out there that are invested that aren't in the online community. So I'm sure he isn't the only one, for sure.
Yeah. Get out there and have yourself a dog tonight. Hey, it's almost the 4th of July here in America. It's Independence Day, damn it. So get out there. Maybe head up the Grumpy Wiener. Go down, get a couple of dogs, whatever it is you need to do, and pay them $400 for one, Yeah. Oops, my bad. Go ahead. Sorry.
DGen says, I'm down 75%. Can you help me?
Yeah. Yeah, we're all going to have to help each other just by commiserating, and because we're all there. I mean, everybody's down at this point, so not really any help anybody. I mean, or even promote his hot dog. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Another great comment. Yes. Yep. Yeah, promote the hot dog stand, which indirectly is happening right now, actually. So,
well, it is. He's getting all kind of advertisement.
Yeah, yeah. Good name, Grumpy Wiener. But again, to round off that point, I'm not even really mad at that kid. I think this falls on these attorneys. Those are the ones that, and look, even them, at my most Buddhist thinking about it, it would be well, the attorneys are just doing their job and they're out to make money too. This seems pretty damn dishonorable if you ask me though.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Just Live or Just Live must have sent money over the bridge and his cheeks are clenched waiting for it to arrive. Maybe I think that's kind of what I'm reading here. Don't worry about it.
Unclench, yeah.
Yeah, you can unclench it. It's good to go. This is they've done a lot of work to make sure that this bridge is one of the safest that are out there. This version has never been hacked. Not to say that it can't be, but this is one of the safest bridges that we have. So hang in there. Fine. It'll be there. It'll show.
And if you are using the PulseChain.com bridge, I mean, go up to that transaction button in the upper right hand corner. You can see it'll say like 50 out of 96 confirmations or whatever, and you can see it count off. Now that isn't always 100% accurate. I've had money show up even before there. There he goes. He said user error. So
user error. Yeah.
Okay. KD, the attorneys will cost more than $400. Yeah, no shit. I mean, those attorneys are going to cost thousands of dollars for this, especially. This smells like it's going to get dropped to me because I'll just share this, not giving any specifics. I have sued somebody before. I was in way over my head. I didn't know what I was doing. I actually did it pro se though. I didn't have the help of these wonderful attorneys in South Carolina, but that's a whole bunch of pressure too, doing it yourself. But like you start to see the costs accruing and stuff like that, all the things you have to do, knowing procedure stuff in court and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, screw this. And I just dropped it. So that's what this whole thing smells like to me, honestly, too.
Yeah.
Now, especially now that we have somebody answering back, you know?
Yep.
So,
yep, for sure. Yep.
All right.
It's on the lawyers. Definitely. They're looking for the payday, as they all do, as they all do with a class action lawsuit. You know, the kid lost 400 and now they want to go after everybody. So,
yeah. Yep. That's how it is. Well, I think this is a good place to stop. Did you have any final thoughts tonight, Ewok? I love this show. I think this is a really good one. This is one I would go back and watch back, even though we were the ones on it. So anyway, what else do you have anything else?
Yeah, kind of. I know the other day,
but go ahead.
Well, too bad.
Go ahead.
Sami made a point the other day that if we can get a 100x out of PulseChain, that these meme tokens would probably do a 300x.
He said 50x on PulseChain.
Or 50x.
Yeah.
50x on PulseChain, it would probably do a 300x on the meme tokens anyway. And I want people to be very, very careful. There's nothing wrong with meme tokens, but just realize that because the liquidity is set the way it is, and even if they tell you that they've got single-sided set so that there is no drop in price, that's not everybody. There are people out there that have bags that will dump the price, that when then people see that, it will be a chain reaction for people to exit the door, and you may end up getting left holding a bunch of nothing. So, I like Sami. He says a lot of cool stuff. He works his ass off. He puts a lot of videos out, but there are sometimes things that he says that really worry me because I know a lot of people listen to him and take him like his word is bond. So, Sami's been a friend to this stream before as well. And I don't want to shit on what he says, but I want you to think about because he says, well, it'll do 300x. That doesn't mean you're going to get out, right? With that 300x. So just be extremely careful because it's a lot harder to exit those positions with the lower liquidity. That's why they run up so much. They also drop so much too. So I just wanted people to be aware of that and to be very, very careful. I know you degens out there love your meme tokens and your dicks and your butts and your I have a few too. I'm just as guilty as the next guy with taking, a lottery play, but it's always with fresh money, and I really don't expect a whole lot out of them. So just be careful. That's all. I just wanted to bring that up because I know that was part of our discussion about taking profits, and that's all.
And I will say to Sami's point, he said, 100 to 300x. And I do think he was talking more so about the ones that he has condoned personally buying. I don't think he means like all the altcoins on Pulse will do. I don't think he thinks that the loan token is going to do a 100 to 300x. I don't think that we've now seen this cavalcade of different Pokemon tokens get launched because Pika has done so well. Like there's an Ash Ketchum that's been launched and all this stuff. I've never even heard him mention that before. So I think he is specifically talking about like ones that he has liked, ones that he thinks are strong, not like every single one. And I do think that's a good distinction to make because, yeah, just thinking you can just throw a dart on any of these tokens and they'll do that, I don't think is true either. So I'm with you there. All right. Let's wrap this puppy up. Hey guys, this was an awesome stream. I have enjoyed everybody's comments. I really love the deeper conversation that we had tonight, and not just focusing on just charts and stuff like that, but really like long conversations that we all need to have with ourselves about plans for in this market in the future and what you want your life to really be, involving crypto, and as you invest. The final poll results, 41% of people say they want to sell the most at a specific portfolio goal. Maybe I should have posed that statement differently. Maybe they don't understand it. I don't know. 36% say sell when the market seems euphoric, and then 24%, which still was remarkable to me, are not selling through this bull market and still holding. So fascinating stuff.
How many votes? How many total? I haven't pulled it up here. How many total votes did we have?
I just clicked off it.
Shit, I'll go in there.
Pretty much everybody that has been here, I think, voted. I think.
What the hell is this Biden advertisement?
42 votes. 42 votes.
Get the hell off my screen.
Yeah, we got Biden advertised. Oh, by the way, the debate's tomorrow, right? The big Trump-Biden debate. My God. I mean, I would rather watch that than the Super Bowl. Like, literally. Although last 2020 was pretty horrible, though. They were both just basically yelling over each other. It was pretty bad. But boy, get your popcorn ready, as T.O. would say, I think, for that one. That's going to be pretty interesting.
Get your popcorn ready. 43 total
popcorn
votes.
Ready.
Yep.
All right. DJ Moonboy says best poll we ever had. Thank you for that. Glad people enjoyed it. All right. Let's wrap this puppy up. Everybody enjoy that debate tomorrow. It should be pretty good. Pick up a bag of OMG, Orange Man Good, Tang Gang, PulseChain if you want to. I don't think we have a Biden token, but I wouldn't be picking that one up anyway, probably. So we will be back next week. I am going to be on a very small vacay. So I don't know. I'll still be in the loop, I'm sure, with what's going on. So we still plan on being here next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do this every week. And
we may, not sure yet. We may. This isn't
all caps may.
Yeah, this isn't finalized or determined, but we may have an open mic. So if you guys want to come in and chat, we'll still cover some topics, but we'd like to get other people's thoughts too, just because it's going to be a holiday weekend and things like that. Probably not a whole lot going on, but we're discussing having an open forum as long as everybody's respectful and then allows other people to talk and stuff like that. So just a thought.
Yeah. If you guys would be interested in that, because we want to make sure people would actually want to jump on, we'll put the link in chat. But I will say, because we like to keep this show nice and tight, if you don't have a point and you're rambling and you're not getting anything and you're just hanging out to hang out and everything, that's not what we're asking. If you want to come on and have a good conversation about what we're talking about and you feel that you can be involved in stuff, we would like to have a conversation with you for sure. So yeah, think about that. If you guys would like to come on in, we'll drop the link in and be glad to have you on stream. So should be good. So we'll catch you next week. Happy Independence Day with it coming up. And this has been Boi Crypto. That is Crypto Ewok. We'll catch you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto live stream. See you guys.